Hey TPT sellers, now is the time to take action if you don't want your conversion rate to crash in July 2024. My name is Mike Fuchigami. I'm the host of the SEOtpreneur YouTube community. I need your help if we don't want our TPT seller conversion rates to crash. This episode is for all TPT sellers at all stages of the game. If you're a brand new seller in your TPT egg, eventually, you're going to start to need to use data to improve your store, and this impacts you. If you are a whale or a planet and you have lots of sales, the conversion rate issue will affect your brand new products that you launch. It will seem like your new products don't do as well as the good old days when you used to put out a product. As leaders in the TPT seller community, people are going to look to you to see your reaction. Last week, I did an episode about how our conversion rate will crash. It explains the theory, and then I prove it using numbers, and then I show you the code showing you exactly what will happen. So check out episode 44 if you haven't already. I have one urgent and important task for you to do before July 1st, 2024. And that is email support@teacherspayteachers.com and ask them, could they please remove the Google Analytics code when we visit our own products and we're logged in. Otherwise, our visits will count as page views, and that impacts our conversion rate, our wish list rate, and our preview rate. And basically those numbers become untrustworthy. So if you only do one thing, stop the video right now, email TPT, share a link to this video, and ask them to remove the tracking code when we visit our own product pages. Share this video in the TPT forums, share it in your Facebook groups, email it to your TPT seller besties, because we have a limited opportunity right now to improve the TPT seller community for everybody. Now, if you're still watching, in this episode, I'm going to explain what I did and the response I got from TPT. I'm going to share a response that other TPT sellers have gotten when they share this request with TPT. And then finally, I'm going to talk about how your voice matters as a TPT seller. And yes, TPT actually is responsive. It may not seem that way, but I'm going to give you 3 examples of how you've been able to change the TPT seller space. So after last week's YouTube episode, I did email TPT support, and my subject line was 3 thank yous and 1 feature request. I think if we're trying to change the system, we need support from the top and we need support from the bottom, and we need to work together in a collaborative sense. There was a lot that I had to be thankful for before I made that feature request. The first thing I did was I wished them good luck with their new website launch and the data transition, because these things are tough. TPT sellers expect perfection. We want the rollout to be perfect, and we don't always have all the pieces of the information about things they've considered, but they couldn't implement for various reasons, or because now wasn't the right time. You know how as TPT sellers ourselves, we have to fix our product covers and our product descriptions, and we have so many products and not enough time, so we have to choose priorities? It's exactly the same way for TPT. All large companies have to make priorities. As TPT sellers, we can share what's important to us, and that can help influence TPT in terms of deciding what to implement now. The second thing I was really excited about is TPT actually wrote on their blog some of the data changes that they're making, and I'll talk more about it in today's episode. The new dashboard will allow us to compare specific date ranges, and this is a game changer. It's not perfect, but it's really good. Finally, I thank them for writing about these changes on the public channel on the TPT Seller blog. So it's not just in the TPT Seller town halls, although that's an awesome vehicle for them to communicate with some TPT sellers, but not all TPT sellers are there. So by posting it publicly on the blog, it's now accessible to everybody. And that makes it easier because we can all see the same information. It's very transparent. Now, I know we're disappointed that they're not publishing every update and every decision that they make. But to be honest, I think that would be information overload. They have a lot of checks and balances where they have to make sure the manager approves the messaging. It's not like you and I in a small TPT seller store where we can make a new product or change the product description right away. They are a large ship, and it's so big that changing directions takes a lot of intention and time. Whereas if you're in a little commute, we can pivot as much as we want. It's very easy for us to make changes. We don't have a lot of overhead and bureaucracy to check through. Email, and I'll say it again here, whoever was on Team TPT who said, hey, we should write about this on the blog. I appreciate that idea. Thank you for speaking up. So now that they can see I'm not wielding a pitchfork, I try to present the case for removing the Google Analytics tracking code on our own product pages when we are logged into the site. The people that we chat with in TPT support, they're just customer experience specialists. They are not coding specialists. They don't understand the development code. I mean, they might, but that's not their job. So then I explain how page views are going to be counted every single time that we visit. And this is going to disproportionately affect TPT sellers. So then in July, when I predict this conversion rate crash will happen, there will be a lot of TPT sellers who are caught off guard and they're going to say the sky is falling. Oh no, our conversion ranks are crashing. TPT sucks. And the customer experience team in TPT support gets to deal with this pain. So I try to communicate what's in it for them. I was thinking about it today. I think when TPT support is logged into their TPT support accounts, it must turn off the Google Analytics code, because otherwise, if you ask TPT support a question about your product and then they visit your product page, that would count towards a page view. But right now, we don't currently see that happening. So they've implemented code, I think, at all levels of the system that when you're logged in their TPT staff account, then don't count that as page views. So now is the perfect time for them to implement this change, because it's a large system-wide change that they have to do anyways, because they have to switch from Google Analytics 3 Universal Analytics to Google Analytics 4. And it means data before this change will be completely different. So they can make the entire system better by not counting TPT seller visits on our own products. Now, the people who answer our support tickets are not the people who actually make the changes. Their job is to provide exceptional support for TPT buyers and TPT sellers, and then to aggregate that information so that management can make decisions about what's important, what's trending. I'm sure they use software to automate this process and detect the tone and topics that people are asking about. In case you're wondering, I do disclose that I have a video blog where I talk about my experiences on TPT. Regardless, when I cite TPT employees, I don't cite their names. I'll blur that out because that's not important. What is for public is our interactions with companies, because that's part of active citizenship, keeping large companies accountable in the societies and the communities that they create. Now, TPT customer support, they sort of have two responses. That customer experience specialist at the front line either gets to respond and they have a database of responses, or if it's something bigger, then they'll push it up the chain of command and someone else will have a look at it. And so that's what this first person did. They said, "Thanks for writing in. I passed this request over to a specialist for a closer look and review." This is just how large systems work. It's not personal. They need to create systems to be efficient and accountable. So the TPT customer experience specialist sends it forward. Then the customer experience manager replies back and lets me know that they passed on my feedback suggestion directly to the product team that is working on this implementation. So the developers who are working on Google Analytics get to see this feedback, which is fantastic. And now they're aware that a person in the TPT seller community has made this request as well. They have thought about this issue before. They probably had a brainstorm about different ways and things that they could do when they roll out this change. I'm sure this idea was already on the table. And maybe at that point, they decide, you know what, let's just keep things simple so that there's less to complain about. Let's just switch from Universal Analytics to Google Analytics 4, and then make sure we try to explain to TPT sellers what's changing and why it's changing, and how it's out of our control that each individual page view will be counted as a separate page view, because that's just the way that Google Analytics 4 works. So this is best case scenario, right? They're clearly taking this concern seriously. The customer experience team, CX, has passed it on over to the product team with the developers doing Google Analytics. Awesome. Thank you so much, Team TPT. Let's talk about how TPT will respond when you send in an email support request. Last Friday, I put out this video asking TPT sellers to email TPT support. Hey, and the message I suggested was, "Dear Team TPT, please turn off Google Analytics 4 tracking when we view our own products when we are logged in." And Teaching in Fifth Gear is awesome because they replied, "Message to TPT sent." There's two things that are awesome. One, Fifth Gear shared her voice with Team TPT. And two, she publicly stood up and left a comment so that other TPT sellers can see that it's okay to email TPT support for this request. People don't follow me, they follow TPT sellers who follow me. By publicly standing up, Fifth Gear makes it okay for other TPT sellers to publicly stand up as well. And then Fifth Gear does an awesome job and shares the reply, which is perfect. because this prepares us for the standard form response that we are going to receive when you do this. Thanks for writing. We appreciate that you've taken the time to reach out and suggest this. We're always striving to provide the best experience with our site updates, and it's feedback like this that will help us achieve our goals. I have passed your suggestion over to our product team. Thanks for being a valuable member of TPT, and please let us know if you have any other questions or concerns. Have a great day. Any large company has to have a set of canned responses. So I imagine they have a standard form, which they gave here, and a standard place to submit these product suggestions. And I imagine what happens is maybe once a quarter or once a time period, they look at all the suggestions and then make decisions about what to do. And that's great. That's important. But this is time sensitive. It has to be done before July 1st. So I'm glad that the customer experience manager was able to forward it directly to the product team. So it's on their radar. By the way, the best part about Teaching in Fifth Gear's reply is that she actually sent the response to TPT before I did. So Fifth Gear, when I saw your response, I was like, oh yeah, I need to send a request as well. So by replying, you actually helped to make sure I did my side as well to be accountable. That one little comment I know doesn't seem like much, but it actually is huge and will have ripple effects. Even though this issue is on TPT's radar, we need to be a squeaky wheel. Remember, my goal with my TPT store and my YouTube channel is to be so good you can't ignore me. And there are different interpretations of that line. I know a TPT seller who's interpreted that as I'm going to be so prolific and create so many resources on my TPT store, you can't ignore me. This is a new seller under a year old. And when you look at the store, I think they have 500 or 600 products. They don't look like a new store. It's going to be hard to ignore them, especially during back to school season. Likewise, from a support perspective, if we are so loud they can't ignore us, we are more likely to make this change happen. We squeak to customer experience, to the TPT support team. The customer experience team then squeaks to their manager. And eventually, if we are loud enough, the managers are like, yeah, okay, this is important to the community, make this a priority. And that's how change can happen. My talk is cheap, prove it. Is TPT actually listening? Because I feel like they're not listening, and I ask them to do this and that, and I have so many suggestions, and they never take any of them seriously, and all I get are form letters. I don't have faith in TPT because of past experiences, so I think they're going to mess up this rollout as well. Maybe. I mean, your experiences are just as valid as mine, but I'm going to give you right now 3 examples of how TPT is responsive to the TPT seller community. And that's why I think being a squeaky wheel in this situation can help us avoid this conversion rate crash. Now is the perfect opportunity, and we've seen in the past that TPT can pivot based on large input from the TPT seller community. Here's example number 1 of how your voice matters. A year and a half ago, you rolled back a security policy that a company implemented to protect its platform from malware. I talk about this in my TPT Business Masterclass number 2. This is back in January 2023. I talk about viruses and malware and how antivirus works. And basically, because of malware on the platform, some school districts were blocking TPT. TPT needed to have a strong response. Their strong response was to block suspicious accounts. Whenever you do a large response, there are always going to be false positives. So some legitimate TPT stores got caught up in that and were shut down. And because of the outcry in TPT Sellerland, TPT rolled back what the developer said was best practice from a security perspective because of the community response. So this is an example where you have the development team, people who are really good with code and the technical perspective, and then you have the customer experience, customer relationship team, and they're 2 different parts of this organization. So the development team did what was right from a security perspective, but then based on public pressure from TPT sellers, management at the top decided, you know what, we're going to have to roll back the security policy and do the security in a different way. Go watch Business Masterclass number 2 if you want more of that story. Here is example number 2 about how your voice matters as a TPT seller. You got TPT to improve their seller dashboard data. In fact, TPT sent out an email today, but this blog post has been up for at least a week. And in case you missed it, we now have a way to see if changes we make on our TPT store actually made a difference in the data. We're now able to compare data by custom ranges. This is huge. Let's say I make a change to my store on May 8th. I can look at my data from May 8th to May 15th here, and compare it with the week before May 8th if I wanted to. And then I can see the conversion rate before and after. If my conversion rate is higher after May 8th, it means whatever I did on May 8th was good for sales. If my conversion rate drops after May 8th, then it means whatever I did didn't work. This means you don't have to use a third-party tool like the ABCD tool or other more expensive options to figure out if your changes are working. This is huge from a diversity and equity perspective because it levels the playing field. Back in October 2023, I made a YouTube video talking about how the current system is a little bit unfair. In this metaphor, the baseball game is knowing what to improve on our TPT store. The person in the red shirt knows how to use the CSV data to be able to figure out if our conversion rate's improving. There are some expensive data tools, and if you're able to afford these data tools, then you're able to see the baseball game and know what to fix in your store. I published a free seller tool, and if you're able to watch the YouTube videos and understand how to use that tool, then you're able to make data-informed decisions to improve your business. But even if I make a free seller tool, there's still people in the purple shirt on the left-hand side who aren't able to use the free data tool because the YouTube videos are too fast, I talk too quickly. There are always going to be people left behind in the current system because we need third-party data tools to be able to figure out and interpret our data. Then I asked the question, well, what if IXL changed the TPT seller dashboard so that everyone knew how to improve their store? Well, that is exactly what they are doing. By allowing us to compare specific ranges that we choose, we can now see the impact before and after we make a change. You don't need to download your product stats CSV file to do this. You don't need to pay a company to download your product stats CSV file to do this. This is actually better than any solution I could provide, because it's simple and it doesn't require you to download any CSV files, and it works without a Google spreadsheet. Does it replace the ABCD tool? It's better in some ways because you don't have to download your product stats CSV files and you don't need Google Sheets. On the other hand, the ABCD tool shows us preview rates and page views and conversion rates all in one screen. You don't have to jump around. In that video, I talked about how I would publish the ABCD tool for free once we hit 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. At the time, we needed to watch 1,751 hours to reach that milestone. We are really close. We have 1,000 subscribers. Thank you to everyone who's already subscribed. If you're watching right now and you learned something new and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We need 4,000 hours. Right now, we have 3,875. We are 125 public watch hours away from getting the ABCD tool for free. So super excited. Because of you got TPT to improve their TPT seller data tools. And it's people in this SEOtpreneur YouTube community that helped make this happen. People have started saying to me, Mike, you must be happy that they're listening to your advice, even though they don't publicly acknowledge it. And my response is always the same. They're not listening to me. I am just one TPT seller. People don't follow the leader. Follow the first followers who are following the leader. Without you, there is no movement. My goal is to try to make TPT seller land a little bit more fair, a little bit less dramatic, a little bit more informed. I can't do that without your help. It's people like It's Fifth Gear and other TPT sellers who publicly stand up in the YouTube comments or in TPT forums or in Facebook groups and leave comments. I'm not in Facebook, but someone let me know, Mike, someone posted a comment about you on Facebook and they said, you seem to know your stuff about TPT SEO. That's being a first follower. It doesn't matter what I say. And being a first follower may sound like a bad idea because you're a follower and we're all taught to be leaders. But if you watch Masterclass number 5, where I talk about being blackballed by the TPT seller community, watch this section about the video on first followers, and you'll see it's really ineffective for all of us to try to be leaders. If we want to make change, if you see a crazy person doing something that you can get behind, if you stand up and publicly support that person, you're more likely to get that mission to succeed. So go check out Masterclass number 5. At the end of the video, we talk about first followers and true leadership. Here's example number 3 of how TPT sellers have changed TPT. I assume it's TPT sellers, but I'm not actually in TPT forums, so I don't know how much of an uproar there was. But I got a taste of it from some of the TPT sellers I chat with. And there was a lot of concern over the TPT store banner not showing everything when you make the screen smaller. So you got TPT to change the new store banner and roll back a design decision. I think some TPT sellers When they saw that you couldn't see the whole banner as you shrunk the screen on a phone, you thought that was a mistake. But it's not actually a mistake. It's simply a different design principle. There are two design theories when it comes to dealing with a store banner. The first theory is to have what's called a safe zone that is visible on all devices. The second theory is to have it shrink as the viewport shrinks. So as the size of the device changes, you have the store banner shrink so that you can always see it. There are pros and cons with both approaches. They're just two different approaches. So the user experience team, the UX team, the people who designed the look of the website, they created a website based on safe area, which is a standard practice. Let me show you what I mean. This is no longer the case, but I'll show you how the website worked. So I created a product which is already out of date, but it was basically a Canva template that shows you where the safe area is. And here's the video so you can see what it was like. So here's the safe area, and watch how as I change the size of the browser to simulate being on a larger device or a smaller device, you can see that the safe area is always full height there. The size just sort of disappear. And then there's a minimum 16 by 9 safe area size. If you get any smaller than that, it sort of shrinks, but it maintains that safe area, right? So now you're thinking, well, why would you want this? And the answer is, when you have a safe area, it means that the words on that safe area are always going to be the same height. It's easy to read and see everything that's part of that safe area. So as I play this video again, pay attention to the size of the font of the safe area. It's large, it's easy to read. If you're having a sale, it's easy to read, I'm having a sale, as long as you respect the safe area. This is common practice. YouTube used to do this. So I Googled up YouTube safe area. Here's the image from Doc Hippo. You can see there's this white rectangle that's safe and visible on all devices. This dark blue section is for the desktop display, which is a horizontal screen. And then if you ever watch YouTube on your TV, you actually have a full image screen that you can see. And the size of that screen depends on the ratio of your TV. So this entire large box is for the TV display. The difference with YouTube is this was common knowledge that this is how you create a YouTube banner. It wasn't common knowledge in TPT land. I think TPT sellers complained because they thought it was broken and that the screen wasn't responsive. Whereas in actual fact, it was designed to be specifically not responsive. The second design theory is to have the banner shrink as the browser shrinks or as the screen shrinks. This is what the banner looks like now because TPT has quote unquote fixed the responsive problem with the headers. So watch what happens as I shrink the device width. I can see that the banner is shrinking as well, but notice how the words are getting smaller and smaller. And it's harder to read what it says in that red box. So if I shrink here, this is the smallest it will go. Is it wrong? No, it's just a different design approach. On the left-hand side, we have the safe area, and look how large and easy it is to read the words on that safe area. On the right-hand side, we have it where it shrinks as you change the size of the screen, and notice how it's harder to read the words on that safe area. If you wanted, I'm having a sale to be large and prominent, or whatever your messaging is, it'll be smaller now because of this design choice. So what TPT sellers saw was a mistake was simply just a different design choice by TPT. Either way, I assume it's because of pressure from the TPT seller community to fix that mistake that the TPT design team switched it. So again, we have two different sides here. We have the UX team, the design team that made the website according to the safe zone approach. And then we have the customer experience team that received a lot of feedback from TPT sellers saying, hey, it's broken. So then the customer experience team squeaked to the management team, and the management team said, okay, I know that you designed it according to the safe zone design principle, but TPT sellers are expecting for this, so let's change it to that. Was TPT listening? Why didn't TPT make it responsive from the beginning? Well, I know that large companies have focus groups where they test a major website change like this to get feedback from teacher buyers, teacher sellers, different stakeholders. So I'm sure TPT asked their seller advisory committee or other people what they thought about the website as part of their alpha testing. And the general consensus was, yeah, I like it. Let's do this. Let's do this. So now they're going to beta testing and they're getting larger input from other TPT sellers, which is the entire TPT seller community. And this is where the outcry came out. Yeah, we don't like it being a safe area. We want to have it responsive all the way so that the entire beautiful banner that I made is visible always. And then TPT listen. You got TPT to change the store banner. So if you can do that, then I think if we email TPT and say, hey, we really want you to not count our own visits in our metrics. Can you please turn off Google Analytics for tracking when we view our own products when we are logged in? Then I think that'll help avoid this TPT seller conversion rate crash that's going to happen in July. Please share this video in your TPT seller forums and your Facebook groups and with your TPT seller besties. If you have any questions, please ask below. And if you think this is important, please like the video so that the YouTube algorithm will share it with other TPT sellers who haven't discovered our YouTube community yet. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye now.